So much to talk about, so much to take up. I want to bring in our guest today, my good friend, Stephen Gardner, host of the Stephen Gardner Show on YouTube Rumble. Stephen, thanks so much for joining us on this live show tonight.
Absolutely. Happy to be here.
Stephen, I want to start with first that big, beautiful bill passing the first hurdle, which is the House of Representatives, 215 to 214. Two RINOs voting against it, Thomas Massie and Warren Davidson of Ohio. There was something interesting happen. I'm not sure if you heard about this, but Andrew Garbarino of New York, who was one of those RINOs who was holding up the bill because of that SALT deduction, he missed the vote. He says he was tired and he fell asleep. We're getting some reports that he was not sleeping. He was simply drunk, passed out. What your thoughts on this monumentous day? That's what we're hearing. Unconfirmed reports, but usually when the tea comes out of Washington, D.C., it's more than likely true, the more absurd it sounds.
I would have expected this out of Nancy Pelosi's office, but not out of this guy. Yeah, it's interesting. The ones that throw the biggest fits, then sometimes they don't even show up. Thomas Massie, a guy that I agree with on many things, not all things, but, he throws this big fit. He wants Social Security to go untaxed. I agree with that, but then he votes against it. I wish that the Republicans were as aligned as the Democrats. Republicans have good policy, terrible execution. Yeah. Democrats have terrible policy, excellent execution. Can we just learn something from the enemy, please?
Yeah, it's hard. The Republicans, it comes down to, and I hate to say this, they're just so dumb. I mean, they get steamrolled, Stephen, time and time and time again, and they just don't learn their lesson. It's constant stupidity. Where the Democrats, you're right. I mean, they're maniacal, vindictive people, but they know what they're doing, man. They have their act together when it comes to staying united. But you've got these Republicans who are just total fools, and nobody holds them accountable. Nobody says, "Listen, you want to be a horse's rear end? That's fine. When you're up for re-election in 2026, we're gonna spend some money against you." Everyone's so scared about turning over the apple cart and the status quo. Don't you think it would be nice for one time, Stephen, to upset the apple cart, just as Donald Trump did in 2016? The man broke every single barrier to entry that there ever was. I mean, he annihilated, Stephen, the biggest family in politics, second to the Clinton crime family, and that's the Bush family. He sent what the heck? I forgot even his name. What's the Bush? Jeb Bush. That's how far out of my mind it is. I mean, made Jeb Bush look like exactly who he was. The rest of them, Chris Christie, every single one of those people on the stage, unless they apologize to him, no longer has a job. I mean, Marco Rubio is now Secretary of State. Don't you think it's time to upset the apple cart and say, let's get something done here, guys?
Yeah, I mean, he went over there a couple of days ago to try to rally the troops. He's got the RINOs and the MINOs, the MAGA in name only. It makes me sad how many people are using President Trump and the MAGA ideas to raise money, but then they don't want to vote for it. That you have to pull their teeth in order to get them to do something. I do wonder sometimes if the founding fathers realized, over 450 differing opinions would make it very hard to get anything done. Yeah. Now you have modern members of Congress. I think they kind of lean into it. Hey, nobody's expecting us to get anything done. We can drink during the day. I mean, wasn't this vote in the morning?
It was like after like a 21-hour binge or something, right?
How was this guy already drunk? I mean, geez, Louise. So, yeah, I mean, there's a lot of great Republicans coming up. Byron Donalds, you mentioned him, many others. We've got a good bench of people, but we've also got a bench of idiots that need to be replaced. Sadly, these idiots in the Republican Party, they're losing Elon Musk by not implementing Doge and going deeper. The American people don't want you to go lighter on Doge. They want you to add a D and Dodge, ram that thing and go get rid of all of the theft and abuse.
Yeah, you know what the thing is everyone's like so scared of their shadow. And so, I realized something the other day on a flight back from Florida. Mike Lawler, who's I'm going to spend, I promise this, I'm going to make a promise, and I texted Mike Lawler this. I'm going to spend every single day of the next year and a half making that man's life living hell because of his grandstanding. That who the heck do you think you are? The guy comes out here grandstanding and he says, well, I'm not going to vote. He wound up voting for it, but it doesn't matter. It's the fact that he made Donald Trump leave the White House and go up to Capitol Hill like he's some schoolboy. The disrespect that this man had for him. But he says, I'm going to lose re-election. And that's what made me realize something, Stephen. When you sit there and you have to vote for something based on your next election, that is the problem. The problem that all you give a damn about is returning back to Congress for your $175,000 a year job, people kissing your feet, having a staff of 9-10 people who bow down to you every day because you're a narcissist and you don't want to work anywhere else because nobody will respect you. Right? Because that's what this comes down to. Like 90% of these people in Congress, I work there. And I'm not just saying this off the cuff. I'm saying this from my personal experience. 90% of those people there are just total narcissists who can't stand to ever leave the institution because they fear of being irrelevant. They fear of not having power, people not respecting them, right? Not having an assistant that they can, talk down to or whatever. That's the problem, Stephen, is these people get so complicit and all they give a damn about is my next election.
Yeah, I mean, I can't believe how much time they spend raising money for the next election versus actually doing something now that they're elected. It's a broken part of Congress. This Lawler guy, he also is from New York, and they want those SALT deductions like no other state does. Yeah, because it's a highly taxed state. But to panic, I mean. Look how much of New York voted for Trump. They voted for Trump's ideas. So Mike Lawler would actually be smart to lean more into Trump versus to lean away from him, because he's actually leaning away from the very people that voted for the Trump ideas. They're not voting for the Lawler ideas. They're voting for the Trump ideas. That's my thoughts.
I was on Newsmax the other day and was asked about the RINOs and said, well, if Lawler votes for this bill, he's not going to win re-election. So we're going to get a Democrat. And I said, well, what difference does it make? If you got a RINO, it's the same thing as a Democrat, isn't it? Maybe even worse, Stephen.
Yeah. We're never going to fully get rid of the RINOs and the MINOs. But if you can encourage them to vote in the direction, to pull in the same direction as the rest of them, I bring guests on and we do like call your senator, call your House representative party, where we'll literally light up their line, thousands of phone calls saying, vote this way, vote this way. We also call the Democrats. And we say, hey, you got to vote this way. Like they feel a lot of pressure when you call them or send them emails. There's literally somebody that keeps track of how many phone calls come in about certain topics. So, I think Trump is doing a good job. Nobody whips the votes like Donald Trump. And so, again, I appreciated him going over there. I wish he would go over more.
Yeah. Let's turn to Joe Biden. I mean, we all knew there was something wrong with him, and it was way past just him being old, right? We all have grandparents and parents, and, it sucks watching them get old. You slow down and things start to go slower, but his was progressed to a level of something more than just old age. Some suggest dementia. But now we find out for the last 10 years, Joe Biden had not gotten his prostate check or any sort of cancer screen, which is highly uncommon for any man over the age of 50 years old. You at least usually go to get your prostate checked because that's the men's version of breast cancer. It's the most common in men, as breast cancer is in women. So, women over 50 go get checked for breast cancer to try to prevent it, and men over 50 go get their prostate checked to make sure everything is good. But Joe Biden stopped in 2014, which may signal that that's probably or maybe around the time that he got cancer. But Stephen, here's the issue. 4 years as president, 4 years as vice president, he went through vigorous medical checks at the #1 hospital in the world, Walter Reed. Dr. Kevin O'Connor, renowned doctor apparently, said that he was okay. What did they know? When did they know it? And who knew it, Stephen?
I don't know. So he either has had cancer for many years and we're being lied to, or he's gotten turbo cancer from getting too many Pfizer and Moderna shots, because there's a lot of evidence of turbo cancer popping up, catching people off guard. My own father had prostate cancer. It was a multi-year battle. Yeah. He ended up dying from a bad reaction to chemo. So this is one that I have personally watched. It doesn't just sneak up on you. This is either neglect and abuse, stupidity, or lies. I tend to believe that it's lies, that they knew something was going on. And I had somebody on my show this week. They pointed something out. They said, I thought maybe he had dementia, that he was older. He had those brain aneurysms he had to have clipped off in his brain. Yeah. And now this person says, what if it was just these cancer drugs? Yeah. Because remember, we learned before the election that he had a doctor secretly come to the White House 8 or 9 times, yes, who I think specialized in Parkinson's or something, yes, like that. So was that person actually coming and treating him with cancer drugs that was making his brain slow down? Again, it brings me no joy to watch older people struggle. Yeah. I totally believe in treating your elders with respect. He was disrespected, yeah, and they were pushing him in to high pressure situations where he ended up looking like a buffoon almost every time.
Yeah, I said this yesterday. He embarrassed the country, he embarrassed himself, he embarrassed his family, and just about everybody. But at the end of the day, if he was suffering from cancer, the drugs from the cancer, which, I know people have went through it. It's not easy. The chemotherapy, the drugs that you're put on, there's some people who wake up some days and they can't get out of bed from it. I'm sure you experienced this with your father. But they made this man run for president. They made him go out there and run the country. Now, I don't think he won in 2020. Somehow he wound up taking over the Oval Office and getting in there. But, I said this on yesterday's show. It's sort of interesting if you think about it. Why would Joe Biden go in there and give up power so easily to maybe Susan Rice, maybe Barack Obama? And it dawned upon me, Stephen, is it possible that they knew he had cancer and they held it over his head that if he didn't do just as they said, they'd come out and oust him as president anyway, because they'd tell the world that he's got prostate cancer and it's very severe, maybe go the 25th Amendment, maybe primary him, who knows?
I had Lindy Lee on my show this week. She was the top advisor for Joe Biden's reelection and Kamala Harris, right? She's since left the party. Her eyes have been opened. I believe her when she says she's been red-pilled. She said that the event that she set up, raised money for, and hosted with George Clooney out in California, that they knew that people were on to Biden's sickness and his mental deficiencies. And that's why they brought on Barack Obama, because they realized we're not going to raise any money unless Obama shows up. And guess what? They were charging to take a photo with Obama.
$200,000?
$100,000 to take a picture with Barack Obama. So they knew. She told me, I knew something was off, but they kept him so insulated and so hidden. And they said he was working so hard. That's why he was tired. Everyone outside of the Oval Office was lied to at the highest levels of the Democrat Party.
Yeah, I've had opportunities, not to gloat about it because there's nothing to gloat about, to meet Obama. I've passed up. I've also had opportunities to meet George W. Bush. I've also passed up. Just didn't have much interest in it. In seeing either. Both of them blackballed the great Lou Dobbs from the White House. So they blackball him, I blackball you. Not that they give a damn, but just pretty damn funny. A new poll out from my buddies over at Rasmussen, Mark Mitchell, one of the greatest pollsters out there. 72% say the cover-up of Biden's decline is a serious scandal. This is from their latest likely U.S. voters. They say it's a serious scandal that White House staffers were aware of Biden's declining mental condition, but worked to conceal his condition from the public, and members of Congress, including 48%, who consider the scandal very serious. Just 23% don't think the cover-up of Biden's condition is a serious scandal. Stephen, where do I find those 23% of people that don't think this is absolutely insane? Is it those blue-haired people who work at Starbucks?
Well, the mainstream media started putting out articles very early in the Biden presidency saying the office of president isn't as important as it used to be. It really is about the staff that you have around you. Oh, the chief of staff, that's the person that really the president leans on to get things done. So they were kind of crafting this narrative as they were pretending that this guy was smarter than Jake Tapper, that this guy was smarter than Joe Scarborough. They were pumping out these lies at a very rapid rate. I mean, I just read yesterday that they were doing fake town halls in order to get better video clips of Joe Biden so that they could put them out when the real town halls happened. The whole thing was fake. It was fake. His whole presidency was a fake.
There's videos of me going back, Stephen, years ago, in interviews that I did, telling people that if somebody came out and told us that the last 4 years was a joke, like Steve Harvey came out, said the last 4 year was a joke, I would believe it. And now it's literally coming out to be true how crazy it really is. His longtime physician, Dr. Kevin O'Connor, a man who, was sworn in the boards of the medical fields. We saw so much pushback in 2020 from doctors who came out and said, don't take a vaccine, right? There was people who were looking to take their medical licenses, go after them because they were, doing a disservice to the country and to the medical profession. Yet we have this man who treated the president of the United States for 4 years, said he was completely cognitive, which we know is a lie, said he was completely healthy, which we now know is definitely a lie because he 99% had cancer. He's being called to testify. Do you think he shows up? And what the heck? How do you defend yourself?
Well, he's definitely going to lean on the HIPAA health laws. Because of HIPAA, I can't share. Oh, because of military stuff, I can't share. Being the president's primary physician, I can't share. So it wouldn't shock me if he pleads the fifth, if he hides behind HIPAA healthcare laws. That wouldn't shock me one bit. He's in a bad place. He either lied or he's negligent. Either way, it goes against the Hippocratic oath of first do no harm. If he was involved, like think about what they got Richard Nixon on, right? Richard Nixon wasn't even a part of Watergate, but he didn't want these people to get in trouble. So he tried to craft this story. That's what got him in trouble.
Yeah.
So this Dr. O'Connor, if he is part of crafting a narrative about the most powerful office in the land, that he was mentally sharp, that he did not have Parkinson's, he did not have cancer, that he was the epitome of a Grecian god with his aviator sunglasses. If all of that is a lie, this guy needs to have his medical license taken away.
Yeah, it goes way past that, Stephen, because you look at what they've done to, like I said, these doctors from COVID. It wasn't just doctors. It was anyone. It was anyone who didn't show up to testify before the sham January 6th committee. They went to jail. Steve Bannon, Peter Navarro, they knocked down people's doors. President Trump's valet guy, Walton Auta. I mean, they went after every single person who literally none of them did any sort of crime, at least when it pertained to this. What they've done in their previous life, I can't attest to, but a man carrying boxes of President Trump's documents, sham case. Steve Bannon didn't show up to the committee, jailed him. Peter Navarro, same thing. These people took matters in their own hands. It's time for us to figure out what exactly went on, especially when it pertains to the president of the United States and who was running this country. A slew of pardons were issued before President Trump left office. Let's turn to some issues that President Trump is having in Washington, D.C. It's no secret that the Marxist judge, unelected bureaucrats are doing all they can to stop him at every turn. The latest one today, I wish I could say they're going to stop, but they're only going to keep going and they're going to get worse. Federal judge has blocked President Trump administration of layoffs, mass layoffs at the Department of Education. U.S. District Judge Mayang John stated in her ruling that the Department of Education must be able to carry out its functions and its obligations under the Department of Education Organization Act and other relevant statutes as mandated by Congress. So now it goes to an appeal court and the same process over and over again because Donald Trump is apparently not the president of the United States. When is it going to stop?
It's not. They're just going to keep coming up with lawsuits. They're going to keep shopping it around to judges that are sympathetic to their liberal activism. We saw this when they were trying to kick Trump off of the ballot in Colorado. That was shopped around. When they needed the J6, they brought it to Washington, D.C. They said, this is going to be randomly given to Chutkin, who hates Trump's guts, right? Same thing with this Judge Boasberg, right? Oh, he just randomly gets handed 4 Trump cases in a row. Give me a break. This whole thing is rigged. It's a scam. They are trying to usurp the power, the legal authority of the sitting president of the United States. Yeah. It's disgusting.
Yeah, it really is. It's like you got the same judges and same. There's got to be a way around it, and Congress has to act. And there you go, Mike Johnson again. There's a way around these Marxist judges who mean to hurt America. He's the president of the United States. He's not a dictator, and he doesn't claim to be a dictator, although the Marxist mainstream media will tell you that he is. But can we believe anything they say? Because they were the same people who propped up Joe Biden and said he was cognitive and everything was good. He was healthy as can be. President Trump is also taking his fight to colleges and universities who take millions of dollars a year from the federal government. The latest one today, Kristi Noem has blocked Harvard from enrolling foreign students. Quote, the administration is holding Harvard accountable for fostering violence, anti-Semitism, and coordinating with the CCP on its campus, Kristi Noem said in a statement. This could be an issue for Harvard because they take a lot of foreign students, and it's a way that they can make some money. No, I'm saying it's not a privilege. It's not a right for universities to enroll foreign students and benefit from their higher tuition payments to help pad their multi-billion-dollar endowments. Harvard had plenty of opportunity to do the right thing. It refused. They've lost their student and exchange visitor program certification as a result of their failure to adhere to law. And what President Trump was asking was very simple. Just cut the bullshit out. Stop allowing these anti-Semites to run their campuses. Stop indoctrinating students. And there's free speech, right? You're allowed to have your own opinion. Not everyone's going to agree on everything. There are people out there who believe in a two-state solution for Israel. If they voice their opinion in their own private setting or in a public setting, a respectful manner, that's the freedom of speech. I mean, that's your First Amendment right. You may not agree with it, but it's these people who think that they're going to take over college campuses and burn them down. We're not going through another summer of love again. It ain't happening because Donald Trump will send the military in this time. Your thoughts about President Trump really taking the fight and sticking it to these Ivy League schools?
Well, he needs to. The government gives far too much money to these groups. They have their own money. Why is my money being given to Harvard when Harvard has $60 billion? They simply just don't want to take out of the stock market. Yeah. It makes no sense. And then another question, what's wrong with educating Americans? Don't we need intelligent Americans? But what do? They keep educating these foreign students because they'll put up more money than an American. And then what happens? They get shipped back home. So I'm so disappointed. I think they need to stick it to them. I had lawyer Alan Dershowitz on my show. I asked him, how do you know when something has gone from freedom of speech to you need to be kicked out of the country? And he said, when it turns violent, when they take over a building, when they impede the free flow of commerce and students or the safety, you've now crossed the line of freedom of speech to now bad behavior, and that bad behavior can get you kicked out of the country. Marco Rubio testified just a couple of days ago, we're not going to put up with this crap. Every single person will lose their visa, and they will be booted out of the United States, and they will never be invited back. So they're tired of it. I wish Trump had been harder on people during the summer of love. I know, just like with COVID, he was trying to let governors and mayors do their own thing, but look how many billions and billions and billions of dollars of damage happened. He will not allow it to happen round two. Yeah,
you're 100% right. He's had enough, and you're absolutely right. People need to have and it's an unpopular opinion because people are going to get mad and say, "Well, you're supporting anti-Semites." I'm not. But the end of the day, people need to have their freedom of speech to say what they want to say, as long as it doesn't turn to what you had said. When it becomes violence, when you start thinking you're going to take over campuses and do whatever the heck you want to do, especially when you're here as a privilege. It ain't happening. Take your stuff and get the hell out from now, because nobody's going to tolerate it. It's over. The days are done. It's truly a good time, I guess, to be an American citizen. Two things I want to get to before we wrap up here. The Marxist media, the mainstream media, they do all they can to undercut President Trump, to undercut this country, and create a debilitating place for Americans to live. They told us for the last few months that President Trump's tariffs were going to ruin this economy, was going to ruin this country, and do all types of bad things. It did quite the opposite. He's got a trade deal that's going to be taking place between China. He's got a deal between Europe, and he's got a deal between India. He's got a few more to work, but really moving in the right direction. So they told us the price of things were going to go up. And there was even Republicans. Rand Paul came out and said the price of things is going to go up 150%. Bullshit. Show me any one product that's went up 150% for tariffs. I told this, and I'll buy one of every one of them and mail them to the audience, because it's a lie. It's a total blatant lie that 150% tariff converts to 150% to the consumer. It doesn't convert to half that. It doesn't convert to a quarter of that. Okay? Don't take my word for it. Take Amazon CEO Andy Jassy. Trump's tariffs have not impacted prices or consumer demand. So which one is it, Stephen? Do we listen to the CEO of the largest e-commerce store in the world, or do we listen to Joe Scarborough and the mainstream media of fools?
I really like Rand Paul, but he is such a mystery to me. Sometimes he's the biggest Trump supporter, and other times he's the biggest Trump basher. Just very, very bizarre to me. But maybe as a libertarian, I'm attracted to a lot of his ideas, but not all of his ideas. So remember a couple of weeks ago, you probably reported on this. I know I did, that they were going to change the prices on Amazon to show how much they had increased in order to shame and humiliate Trump because of the tariffs. Yeah. Trump makes one phone call. Jeff Bezos, it's a privilege to do business in the United States of America. What are you doing? Don't do this. And now the current CEO is saying, actually, nothing has changed. Amazon's doing great. People are making good money. People are buying stuff. It's a good economy right now. So, yeah, I don't trust Joe Scarborough. Guy couldn't even recognize that Joe Biden was mentally deficient. So I don't trust anybody that pushed the COVID shots. I don't trust anybody that said Joe Biden is smarter than me. I'm not buying it. So no, I don't believe anything Joe Scarborough says.
Yeah. These people are fools. And, I don't know if it's that he didn't know or he played dumb, but they don't have to play dumb because we all think they're dumb. Stephen, it's always excellent and a great deal of fun talking with you. You get the last word here. Whatever you want to sell, whatever you want to give away, whatever you want to tell the audience, the floor is yours.
The big thing that I am interested in right now is the autopen pardon investigation. I want Dr. Fauci investigated. I want Hunter Biden. I want to know who was selling out the country and pretending, masquerading to be the president of the United States. I want to find out all of that. And also, I said to you before the show started, how complicit was Kamala Harris in the cover-up? She's going to destroy her career. And then you pointed out to me, Stephen, she's already doing a good job on her own. Don't interrupt the enemy while they're destroying themselves. Yeah. So I don't even know that we need to bring her up. But Dr. Fauci's the one that I want.
I had you bring up such a funny point. I had a high school teacher. I don't even know how I remember this, but a guy named Arnie Matson. And he was like a man's man. He gave you tough love and he wanted you to learn. And he always used to say, anytime we did something stupid, he'd look at us. He wouldn't yell at us. He wouldn't give us attention. He'd say, you give the man enough rope, he'll hang himself. And that's exactly what Kamala Harris has managed to do, because it's, nobody cares what she says. Nobody cares to listen what she says because it's so totally irrelevant. And it's just a bunch of mishmash because she doesn't speak in coherent sentences Much like Joe Biden, you get the last word.
Yeah, no. I'm so impressed with everything that President Trump has done. We're about to celebrate Memorial Day, the lowest gas price in 22 years. And egg prices are down. Prices are starting to come down at the grocery store. You now have Amazon saying these tariffs aren't affecting us at all. 150 countries begging to tap into the American wallet. Like, America is winning and Donald Trump is the one making it happen.